Hello students, this is Arshad Gupta. Welcome to my YouTube channel Arshad Gupta Official. The topic which we are going to discuss today, that is AS330, accounting for inventory. Uh, this lecture is useful for CPA USA students, CMA USA students, and any other who is willing to learn about US GAAP. Uh, let's start. What is the expected accomplishment of today's session? We will discuss what is inventory, then we will discuss classifications of inventory, then we will discuss initial recognition of inventory, then we will discuss what units are in inventory, then we will discuss cost flow assumptions about inventory, then we will talk about perpetual system versus periodic system, then we will talk about physical count. Then we will discuss errors in inventory. Then we will talk about how to recognize permanent decline. And lastly, we will discuss some CMA USA exams questions. Uh, let's start. What is inventory? Inventory is at any given date is the balance of cost applicable to goods on hand remaining after the matching of absorbed costs with concurrent revenues. So what is meaning of this? This is the definition which is given in ASC 330 about accounting for inventory. So its meaning is that it is the value of the cost of the goods you have on hand after matching the costs of the goods which you have sold against the revenue. This balance is approximately carried to the future period. So that inventory balance is always carried to future periods provided it does not exceed an amount properly chargeable against the revenues expected to be obtained from ultimate disposition of the goods carried forward. So this is bit complex definition which I would like to explain you guys. What is the meaning of this? That the balance of inventory which you will carry forward to the next period will no more than the expected revenue which you will generate in your next accounting period by selling those units of goods. So this second sentence is just a depiction of what prudence concept. We will discuss later on what is that concept. Then move forward towards the classifications of inventories. So classification of inventory will depend on your nature of business. If you have manufacturing business, then you may have three sort of inventories, which is raw material inventory, work in process inventory, and finished goods inventory. But if you have retail or wholesale business, in that case, you have only one sort of inventory, which is called merchandise inventory. Uh, let's start with merchandise inventory. Retailers and wholesalers do not manufacture the inventory, they sell. So retailers and wholesalers, they are not manufacturing the inventory. What they are going to do, they just buy that inventory and resell it without doing any production. So they are not doing production, so they are just getting from their supplier the units of goods and then they are selling to their customers. So their inventory is in just in the form in the shape which they have bought from their supplier. Then we may have raw material inventory, which is featured in manufacturing business. The individual parts or pieces that will be assembled to make the finished goods. So these are the individual parts and pieces which your business acquired from your supplier, which you will assemble to develop a new product, which is called finished goods. Then work in process inventory, uh, units of inventory for which production has started but not yet completed. Okay, uh, I believe you got the idea that these are the units against which production has been started but still not completed. So it's not in the form in which you are supposed to sell to your customer, but it is like semi-finished. You have done some work, but still it's not in the final shape. Once it will be in final shape, then it will be called finished goods inventory. Units that have been completed but not yet sold. So this finished goods inventory is which is completed but still not sold. It is part of your inventory. So we have four types of classifications. One is merchandise inventory, which is for wholesale and retail business. Then raw material inventory, work in process inventory, and finished goods inventory. These will be used in manufacturing businesses. Initial recognition. Inventory will be initially recognized at its cost. This is the principle. Cost. How to determine your cost? This is the guideline for that. All the costs, those are incurred to bring the inventory to its location and condition where it is readily available for sale will be capitalized. So it means all the costs those are incurring to bring your inventory in a condition and location where it is readily available, where you can sell it in that particular form. So all the costs those you will incur to bring the inventory into that position will be included as part of your cost. Now discuss some examples about these those costs. For merchandise inventory, it is purchase price, then shipping cost, then insurance cost, then taxes and tariff. But these must be non-refundable taxes and tariff. Duties, storage cost during transit. This is important. So any storage cost which you are incurring when your inventory is readily available for sale, then the storage cost which you will incur that would not be part of your inventory cost. So storage cost during your transit, that would be part of your inventory. Any other cost without which the company could not receive the inventory to sell the customers. Uh, will be capitalized. So this is about you have to meet that threshold criteria which we have discussed in our previous slide. So all the costs those are incurred to bring the inventory into its location and condition where it is readily available for sale will be capitalized. Same principle will apply for raw material inventory. So all these prices, costs which we have discussed, purchase price, shipping cost, insurance cost, taxes and tariff, duties, storage cost during transit, and any other cost which without which the company could not receive the inventory to sell to the customer will be capitalized. So same principle, because raw materials is also in the form where you don't have done anything additional. But for work in process inventory and finished goods inventory, there is some additional discussions like purchase price, shipping cost, insurance, taxes and tariff, duties, storage cost during transit, conversion cost. This is additional thing for work in process inventory. So conversion cost is a combination of two things we know very well because you have discussed in your cost management uh, studies. Conversion cost would be of two things, which is direct labor cost plus effort. So these two costs will be added because you have done some work to convert your raw material into semi-finished goods form. And same principle will apply for finished goods inventory because again you have converted your raw material into finished goods units. So all other uh, examples are same and you have also incurred conversion cost. Okay. Now, what units are in inventory? This is a very specific case which is dealt by AS 330. There are four specific situations which we are supposed to discuss in detail. Goods in transit, whether it's your inventory or not. Then consigned goods, whether it's your inventory or not. Then goods out on approval, and then obsolete inventory. So we are supposed to discuss one by one these four cases. So starting with goods in transit. If you are sending the goods to your customer, means you have sold the goods and your goods are in transit, then what is the case? It will depend upon your shipping terms. If it is FOB at destination, means uh, free on board at destination. Once goods will be delivered at the desired place, then you will constitute your sale. So even though physically you don't have inventory is in transit, but it would be part of your inventory because right now you can't book your sales. Once it will be delivered to your customers at his destination, then you will book your sales and then you will de-recognize your inventory. So physically you don't have goods, but it is part of your inventory. But if it is FOB at shipping point, again physically you don't have inventory and still customer don't receive those goods, but your sale is booked at the time at the shipping point. So when your sales is booked, you are supposed to recognize your revenue. So in that case, you don't need to include in your inventory. But the case is different if you are receiving the goods, buying the goods in transit. In receiving case, again, it will depend upon shipping terms. If FOB at destination, don't include in inventory. You don't have physical inventory and you can't record your purchases until it will physically delivered to you at your destination. So you don't need to record your inventory. But if it is FOB at shipping point, you can book your uh, inventory, you can record your purchases once goods were shipped. Even though it's still in transit, you don't have received the goods, but you will include these goods in your inventory. So this was the case when you have goods in transit. Now we are going to discuss consignment goods. First of all, look at what is consignment. It is a contract between consignor, which is seller, and consignee, which could be an individual or any entity. In that contract, consignor is delivering his goods to consignee, who will sell them to third party on behalf of consignor. So we are supposed to discuss in the context of consignor and consignee books. Consignor books include in inventory. Keep in mind physically goods held by whom? Consignee. But these goods don't belong to consignee. These goods owned by whom? Consignor. So consignor, even though don't have goods in his physical possession, so he must have to include in inventory because these goods belong to him. So in consignor books, consigned goods will be booked as an inventory. On the other side, for consignee books, uh, physically goods possessed by consignee, but he can't include those goods in his inventory because these goods belongs to whom? To consignor. So, so, so the criteria is if you are consignor, even though you don't have goods physically with you, you are supposed to book your inventory. You are supposed to record your inventory in your books of accounts. And if you're consignee, even though physically you have inventory, you don't need to book your inventory in your goods. Okay, I believe you got the idea. Now let's move towards goods out on approval. This is also called sales or return basis sales. Here, it is a discretionary authority for the buyer to return the goods with certain time span. So seller will include in inventory even though he don't have physically goods sent to home to buyer until goods accepted by the buyer have confirmed you okay fine transaction done it's these goods belongs to me or the time to return the goods have been expired. I remembered when I was student of my first year, I went to the bookshop and I bought some books for my studies. And they stamped over there that if you will return within 3 days, we will accept the books. Otherwise, we will not accept the goods. So that was the sale, goods out on approval for 3 days time period. So once that time period expired and I did not return those goods, so now those goods belongs to me. So seller, even though for those 3 days, don't have physically goods, but he will not record his sales and he will include in his inventory those books. So this is the criteria for goods out on approval. If you have obsolete goods, it is not part of your inventory. Don't include in inventory. Even though physically you have goods, these are the outdated goods. You are not expected to sell them, so it will not be part of your inventory. You will not include in your inventory. You will just write off these goods. Then, what is the cash flow assumptions? Following methods are allowed for valuation of inventory under AS 330. First one is first in, first out FIFO method, then last in, first out LIFO method, then weighted average, and then specific identification. Now, this is very important point to compare it with IS2. Under IS2, LIFO is no more allowed. So under IS2, three methods are allowed: FIFO, weighted average, and specific identification. But LIFO is not allowed. But under US GAAP, ASC 330, all four methods are allowed: FIFO, LIFO, weighted average, and specific identification. So first out, FIFO. What is the assumption of this method? It is assumed that the items you bought first will be sold first. First in, first out. Item sold to customer is the earliest unit purchased by the seller. And that has not been sold, that is the oldest item in inventory. Which is not sold, that is the oldest item in the inventory. So first units are sold and latest units are in part of your inventory. What is the result of FIFO method when we will compare it with LIFO method? When there is an inflationary time period, closing inventory would be higher under FIFO because prices are going up and latest units are part of your inventory. So closing inventory will go up because higher prices units are part of your inventory. And cost of goods sold, lower cost units are part of your cost of goods sold would be lower. And when your cost of goods sold is lower, your gross profit definitely moves up because there is opposite relationship between cost of goods sold and gross profit. So gross profit would be higher. So this is the result. This is the result of FIFO method when you will compare it with LIFO method. Now, keep in mind one thing, that if there is a decrease in prices, the result would be vice versa. Then LIFO method. Again, here items sold to the customers is the latest units. So items sold to the customer last in, first out is the latest units. And the items, those are part of your inventory, is uh, oldest. Purchased by the seller, that is the newest item in inventory. So that the newest item you will first of all sold to your customer, but the oldest item would be part of your closing inventory. So latest units you have sold uh, will be a part of your cost of sales, and the oldest units would be part of your closing inventory. So what is the result of LIFO method when we will compare it with the FIFO? It is just opposite what we have discussed earlier. Like if inflationary time period is means prices are going up, in that scenario, your closing inventory would be lower because at lowest prices units you have in your inventory, and your cost of goods sold would be higher because the costly units you have incorporated in your cost of goods sold, and your gross profit would be lower because we have discussed there is an opposite relationship between cost of goods sold and gross profit. And if there is a decrease in prices, it means it is vice versa for what we have discussed during inflationary time period. Weighted average. This is average method. All of the items purchased are averaged together to find an average cost of units in inventory. So this is just average of cost of all the units you have in inventory. What is the formula? How to calculate cost per unit? Total cost of inventory divided by total units of uh, inventory. So we will divide this by this, then you will find out cost per unit that you will use to charge the cost of goods sold and to calculate the cost of closing inventory. Okay. Now, under if we will discuss later on are both systems, but if it is perpetual system, cost per unit is calculated when new units of inventory received. This is important. When you will receive the new units of inventory, you will calculate the cost per unit. But if it is periodic review system, cost per unit will be calculated only at the end of the accounting period. End of the accounting period. That is important. These two things. Okay. And in perpetual system, you will calculate cost per unit every day when you will receive the units of inventory and under periodic at the end of the accounting period. Then uh, we have discussion about perpetual system and periodic system. What is perpetual system? It is a system of inventory management that records real-time transactions of received and sold inventory through under perpetual system. We will record every transaction when it will occur, whether you are receiving the units or you are selling the units. So you will record that transaction and your inventory record will be up to dated. And for that purpose, you are mostly using the technology like different softwares. But under periodic system, what you will do, uh, you will determine the amount of inventory at the end of the each accounting period or in a specific time period. You are not updating your inventory record at when you are doing any transaction. Under perpetual, when you are doing any transaction, you are updating your inventory record, and under periodic you are not updating your inventory record at the end of every transaction, but what you will do, you will update your record at the end of the accounting period. So, if you are using FIFO method, it will give the same results under both systems. Whether you have perpetual system, whether you have periodic system, it will give the same record. Under LIFO and weighted average methods, uh, both will give different results under both methods. So the value of closing inventory and cost of sales and GP figure will be changed, even though by having different inventory systems, either you have perpetual or periodic, your results would be different under LIFO and weighted, but under FIFO results would be same. Then we have discussion about physical count. So under US GAAP, at the end of each accounting period, it is required to physically calculate the inventory and then adjust the inventory balance and recognize the gain or loss in your income statement. If there is a difference between the balance which you have in your books of accounts and the balance which you have physically, if there is a difference, you are supposed to adjust that gain or loss. So what is the journal entries to record that gain and loss? If there is a loss, when there will be loss when your inventory record is greater than your actual inventory, you will debit inventory loss and credit inventory. This is an increase in expense and this is decrease in your asset. So when there is a decrease in your asset, it will be credited, and when there is an increase in expense, that will be debited. But if there is a gain, when there would be gain, inventory in record is less than the actual physical inventory which you have, then you will do the opposite in, entry inventory as a asset increase debit, and inventory gain as a revenue or income is credited. Okay. Then how to rectify errors in inventory? There are two calculations you have to do. First one is what was done. If you will do something actual, first time correct what you should have to do. That is what was done. And then what should have been, what was done, what you have done the wrong entry, sorry. And what should have been done, what you should have to do if you will do the right entry. So you will compare your wrong entry, wrong entry with your uh, correct entry. Then the difference of both will be your rectifying entry. Okay, which is the difference is the effect of the error. So how these errors uh, will be account for? You are supposed to do two calculations. First one is cost of goods sold. How cost of goods sold is calculated, which is beginning inventory plus purchases equal to cost of goods sold available, cost of goods available for sale minus ending inventory, that is cost of goods sold. This is first calculation. If you want to calculate cost of goods sold, you will use this formula: opening inventory plus purchases minus closing inventory. Then closing inventory. For that, you have opening inventory, beginning inventory plus purchases, cost of goods available for sale, same like this point. Then minus cost of goods sold equals to ending inventory. So these two formulas you will choose either to calculate cost of goods sold or either to calculate closing inventory. So these are the the common formulas used to rectify your errors effect. Then how your errors will affect? If your opening inventory is wrong and it is overstated, means you have recorded more than what you should do. In that case, what will happen? Your cost of goods sold will be overstated and your gross profit would be understated. Okay. Then if your opening inventory is understated, it means you have recorded less than what you should have to do. Your cost of goods sold would be understated and gross profit would be overstated because the opening inventory figure is less. Then closing inventory, if it is overstated, means you have recorded more inventory than what you should have to do. Your cost of goods sold will be less because it is subtracted from your cost of goods sold, and your GP is overstated because we all know that they have inverse relationship. If one will go up, the second will go down. Okay. And if closing inventory is understated, in that case, your cost of goods sold will be overstated and your GP would be understated. Then how to recognize permanent decline in your inventory value? That is important. The answer is prudence concept. What prudence concept says that expected losses must have to recognize immediately and income should not be recognized until it is virtually certain. So expected losses we are supposed to recognize here, because if the value of your inventory in your books of accounts is higher than what you are expecting to recover from those inventory, which we have discussed in our first slide when we were talking about what is inventory, so that you have to recognize. So it's a prudence concept application. Here we have two scenarios. One is called lower of cost or market, and the other is that is used lower of cost or market when you are using LIFO method or retail method, which is also called specific identification method, in which you are identifying the each unit which you are selling, or identifying the each unit which you have in your inventory. Uh, then other is lower of cost or NRV, which will be used when you have all other methods like FIFO or AVCO. If you have FIFO or AVCO, then you will use lower of cost or NRV. And if you have LIFO or retail method, you will use lower of cost or market. So let's start with lower of cost or market. But keep in mind that is important. Under IS2, only lower of cost or NRV is allowed. So this is not allowed under IS. In IAS, this is not allowed. Irrespective of which cost flow method you have, you will use lower of cost or NRV under IS. But here in ASC 330, you have two methods. One is lower of cost of market and other is lower of cost of NRV. Lower of cost of market is used when you have LIFO or retail method, and for FIFO and AVCO method, you will use lower of cost or NRV. Lower of cost or market. Cost, we know from any historical cost based method, we will determine either FIFO, we will use cost flow assumption, LIFO, we will use AVCO, we will use specific identification, we will use. Then market. Market refers to the market in which company purchases goods. So this is the market where you are purchasing, not your selling market. It is your buying market from where you purchase goods. The general rule for market value is that it is the price the company would have to pay to replace or reproduce the inventory item. It is like replacement cost. This is a general rule, but we have some specific criteria here under ASC 30. We will use middle number of these three numbers. This is important. Middle number of three numbers for the market value. What are these three numbers? Replacement cost we have discussed here, ceiling or floor. So let's start with these discussions. Replacement cost, the cost to purchase the inventory currently. If you will replace your inventory today, what the cost you will bear, that is your replacement cost. This will be used only when it is within the corridor. I will explain you what is the corridor. Then ceiling, NRV. So ceiling is same thing, NRV. Ceiling is always done for roof. So this is the upside, top side of the corridor. So this is corridor. Here, this is ceiling, upside roof, and this is floor, bottom side. And this hole is your corridor. So in this corridor, if you have replacement cost here, then it would be middle value. Okay, but if so, that's why we said it will be used as long as it is within the corridor, because these two figures will always be, floor will be lower and ceiling would be always higher. So replacement cost would be your market when it would be within the corridor. If it is not within the corridor, say your replacement cost is outside the corridor, either higher than ceiling, it's here, it would not be your middle value, is here, or it is lower than floor, it is here, it would be not part of, it would not be your market value. NRV, we know estimated selling price minus estimated selling cost minus estimated cost to complete. Then floor, it is your NRV minus normal profit. So in your exam, normal profit will always be given to you in either in the form of percentage or in the absolute figure. Okay. Now, lower of cost or NRV. These two are used when we have market is used when we have LIFO or retail method, and this is used when you have FIFO or weighted average. So cost, we know historical cost, which we will determine by any using any cost flow assumption. Then NRV, we know it is estimated selling price minus estimated selling cost minus estimated cost to complete. So we'll compare. If our NRV is lower than cost, there is a decline. You are supposed to recognize your loss. But or if your market is lower than your cost, then again there is a decline and you are supposed to record your loss. How to write down that inventory, how to record that loss. When market value or NLV is lower than the cost of the inventory, the difference must be write off to the loss account. The entry would be inventory loss account or cost of goods sold. It is option given by AS 330, ASC 330. Option is given either to charge direct to the loss account or to charge it to the cost of goods sold. So it is your discretionary authority whether you will charge to inventory loss account or to cost of goods sold. Will be debit as an increase in expense and inventory as a decrease in asset will be credited. So this was all discussion about ASC 330. Now let's start some exam questions. Newsys Company begins the month of November with 150 units of model XL brass hinges on hand at a cost of $2. These hinges sell for 3.3, 3.5 each. The following schedule presents the additional activities in this inventory item during the November. So these are receipts, units price, and units sold. The dates are given for the transactions. If Newsys uses the periodic, this is important, periodic weighted average inventory price, we are supposed to calculate gross profit. I will do this calculations with two methods. First method, we will calculate our cost of sales. For that purpose, we are supposed to calculate cost per unit of inventory, which we have discussed we will do at the end of the accounting. So how many units we have? Let's first of all determine the cost. We have 150 units in our inventory times 2, which is your opening inventory, plus you have purchased units 200 times 2.10, plus we have 200 times 2.20, plus we have 250 times 2.40 divided by total units 150 plus 200 plus 200 and plus 250. So let's do the calculations. So 150 times 300 plus into 200 times 2.10 plus into 200 times 2.20 plus into 250 times 2.40 into, it is 1760. So your numerator is 1760 divided by your denominator is 150 plus 200 plus 200 plus 250 equals to 800. So 1760 divided by your answer is equal to your average price per unit is 2.20. Okay. Now, how many units you have sold? We are supposed to sum of these figures. 100 plus 150 plus 220 plus 100. So 100 plus 150 plus 220 plus 100. 570. So sales revenue would be 570 times sales price per unit 3.50 is equal to 1995. 1995 minus cost of goods sold, which is 570, now times 2.20. Okay, 570 times 2.20 is equal to 1254. So we will subtract this figure from that. 1995 minus answer is equal to 741. So your GP is 741. This is one method. Other method is we will calculate COGS by having opening inventory, which is how much 150 times to 300 plus purchases, which we will calculate by multiplying their figures. Minus 300 is equal to 1460 minus closing inventory, which is how many units we have in total. 800 units, we sold 570 units, so 300 units are closing inventory times 2.20. So 300 times 2.20 is equal to 660. This we will subtract from this figure. So 300 plus 1460 minus 660 is equal to 1100. Oh no, it is how much? There is, I believe there is an error in our calculation. So 200 times 2.10 plus 200 times 2.20 plus 250 times 2.40, 1460 plus 300, 1760 minus closing inventory 800 minus 570. Oh, so got it. Minus 570, it is 230. So this is uh, wrong calculation here. It is 230 times 2.20. So times 2.20 equals to 506. So this you will subtract. Then 300 plus 1460 minus 506 is equal to 1254. So you subtracted that 1254 from your GP, from your sales revenue, you got your GP. There is another way to do the same calculation. I am doing this just to do the smart working. We determined this unit price of cost. So your sales revenue is 3.50 minus 2.20. So your profit per unit is 3.5 minus 2.2. The way you will save your time, 1.3 times your units sold quantity, which is 570. So times 570 equals to 741. So this is the best and efficient way to save your time because it is more important in your CMA and CPA exams. Okay, now let's start the other question, which is about this information concerned items in Wilson Market. They have three product lines: cameras, lenses, and tripods. Historical cost per unit is given, selling price per unit is given, cost to distribute per unit given, current replacement cost per unit is given, normal profit margin per unit is given. Assume that Wilson uses LIFO. So this is LIFO. It means you are supposed to write down your inventory at lower of cost or market cost flow assumption to value its inventory and determine its cost of goods sold. The limits to the designated market value, the ceiling and the floor respectively, that should be used in lower of cost of market comparison for cameras. So question is, I discussed in my another video, CMA US exam management techniques, that you must have to understand what is the requirement of the examiner. The whole discussion is he is asking about to determine the ceiling and floor for which product cameras. So this data, lenses and tripods is irrelevant to us. For that price, to calculate ceiling, which is called NRV, we need selling price per unit, that is this, minus cost to complete and cost to sell, which is cost to distribute. So this. So from this, we will subtract this. 217 minus 19 equals to 198. So this is 198 is your ceiling, is your ceiling. So for smart working, first one is your ceiling. So your answer is A, but we will do the calculation to find out floor. Floor is equal to NRV, which is 198 minus normal profit, which is given to you as I discussed earlier. Either it would be in absolute form or it would be in percentage form, is minus 32. So once we will subtract this from this, it is 166. So our answer is A. Let's start this question. This is theoretical question. The operations of the firm may be viewed as a continual series of transactions or as a series of separate ventures. The inventory valuation method that views the firm as a series of separate ventures is, keep in mind, either it's FIFO, either it's LIFO, either it's weighted average. Over there, you are, there is a continuation of series. You are recording, valuing your inventory by correlating all transactions. So separate ventures will be considered only in specific identification, where you will identify every separate unit as a separate transaction and it don't have any correlation with your previous transaction. So your answer is C. Then Tony's Auto Parts Store is a small retailer. Tony Brown owns the business and has purchased a micro computer system equipped with barcoding devices. Tony Brown uses the first in first out FIFO method to value inventory and is concerned about the impact on inventory valuation of a switch from a periodic inventory system to perpetual inventory system. Which of the following statement is correct? Keep in mind, I have discussed with you guys earlier, when I was talking about perpetual and periodic. If you are using FIFO, your results will be same. That is the point. If you are using LIFO, if you are using weighted average, your results would be different. But if you are using FIFO, your flow first in, first out will not be impacted. So it will remain same. Inventory and cost of goods sold will remain same, whether or not a perpetual or periodic inventory system is used. So your answer is B. Then we have question on December 31st, year one, Johnson Corporation sold an on account and shipped merchandise with a list price of 75 to Gibson Company. The terms of the sale were N30 FOB shipping point. This is important. So Johnson Corporation sold goods to whom? To Gibson Company. And FOB is at shipping point. So Johnson will record his revenue, will book his revenue when goods are shipped, and uh, is supposed to de-recognize its inventory. The merchandise inventory arrived in Gibson on February 5th, second year. So at 31st December, it is goods in transit. This goods in transit. So this is the case about goods in transit. Okay, because of confusion about the shipping terms, he was not clear whether it is FOB at shipping point or FOB at destination. The sales were not recorded until January for the year two. So he was confused and he did not book his sales. But what he should have to do, he is supposed to book his sales. And merchandise sold at a markup of 25% of cost was now included in Johnson's inventory on 31st. So what actually he should have to do, because it is FOB at shipping point, I'm highlighting this area. He must have to book his revenue and to de-recognize his inventory from his books of accounts. As a result of the above, Johnson incomes before income taxes for the year ended 31st December year one was inventory would be valued higher under this is wrong statement. It should not be part here. Was understated by 15,000, correctly stated, understated by 75,000, or understated by 18,750. So first of all, he should have to book his revenue. Revenue should be for what? 75,000. And he also supposed to record his cost of goods sold. The term is markup of 25% on cost. So your cost is 100%. Cost is 100%. And then this is 100% plus your markup, which is 25%. So the figure which is given to you, that is 125%. So we should have to calculate our cost, which is 75,000 times 100 divided by 125. So it is 75,000 divided by 5 multiplied by 4, it is 60,000. So you will subtract this and your profit should be 15,000. So you don't recognize your revenue, you don't recognize your cost, so you don't recognize your profit. So your profit is understated by 15,000. Thank you very much for your precious time. This is all about for today's session. See you tomorrow with the new session, inshallah.